Hey there, it's Jane, Calamity to some of you. I have something to show you that's a little different than what I've shown you before. I'm going to talk to you about the evolution of my trimmers because the new trimmer I have I'm in love with and I think you might love it too. I had a workshop the other day and I actually forgot to talk about the trimmer, and I don't understand how I did that because I love that trimmer so much it just slipped my mind. So sometimes we forget to talk about the things we love the most, maybe, I don't know. So let me show you. This was the trimmer 20 years ago that I started with, and this thing changed my life. It changed my world. If you don't have a trimmer, I know most of you do, but if you don't have one, you need to get one because I don't just use this in my crafting. I use this in my everyday life anytime I need to cut something because it's so much faster and straighter than scissors. So this is the original one that I had 20 years ago, and you know, at the time it was really awesome and high tech and everything, but you can see it's gray, it's hard to see the numbers, and you know, it's a good trimmer for what it is. But a few years after that, I got Stampin' Up! Sold these Fiskars. It was the next generation, sort of, next step up. And it also had the bar. And this is the one I've been using for 15 years. I've had this trimmer forever, and it's well loved. And the way it works is, you know, if you haven't seen it, you just stick your paper in, close it down, and you can either cut, this is the cutter, and this is the scorer to put your score line in to fold things. The problem with this, there's a few problems that I've been dealing with for many years, is if you're trying to cut or score something, you know, if you've got, whoops, first of all, they fall out really easily, as you can tell. If you've got your score line thing in here, and you know, you go to cut your paper, watch what's going to happen. This is in the way. You can't cut all the way. It only cuts to here, you see. And so, you know, it's kind of a pain. I would end up taking this part out, putting it aside, and then cutting. The problem is I've lost these before. You know, they get shuffled under papers or knocked off the table. So I've gone through several of these just because I've lost them, and they're black, so you know, it's hard to see on the floor and the shadows and all. That's one thing. The other thing is this is an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. And you know, the seasoned crafter knows you can get 2 standard size cards out of this because you just cut it in half. The problem is on this one, you know, 11 inches, half of that is 5.5. But look here, there's 4, there's the 6. Where's the 5? It's hard to see the 5.5, you know. It's like, where does it line up? And because this curves here, it's hard to know exactly where to put this to get your perfect cut. And so I would often have pieces of paper that were not exactly the same because I didn't cut them on the right mark. Now, I'm going to move this aside because Stampin' Up! Brought out a trimmer that solves all of those problems. This is Stampin' Up's modern current trimmer, and it's $30, which honestly is a great deal because that's what I paid for this one about 15 years ago. So let me show you. There are 2 dealy bobs here. One of them's the cutter, one of them's the scorer. Now look what they've done. You can see here is my guideline here. Look, it goes off, and so now you don't have one interfering. You don't have to keep taking these out and risk losing them. Here is our guideline, and look here. Look what they've done. 5.5 is right there, and look, if you want to go 6.5, it's in that little mark. So you're not going to have any problem figuring out where to cut stuff because they fixed that problem, right? And so if I wanted to go 5.5, you know, I'm going to go, oh, look, perfect, and they're both exactly the same size, and it's really fast. Don't you love that? I love it. So the other thing is when you're using a 12 by 12, you know, the old one, you know, we had that problem again. See where it doesn't have a lot of room? But now let's stick the 12 by 12 in this one, and look. Now we've got plenty of space, and it goes a little bit beyond. This is just a bigger trimmer. Look at the size difference. Can you tell? But yet it's not too big that it, like, you know, when you put it on your desk, it doesn't take up too much room. I keep mine right here And so as I'm crafting over here, my trimmer is right there and I can just cut and do all my stuff, and it's not too big that it's going to take up an entire desk. The other thing I love about this, aside from the fact that they fixed these numbers, and see it's gridded, and so you can easily measure things just by putting stuff in there. The other thing I love about this trimmer is if you flip it over, oh, I forgot to tell you. See this little button here? So what that does is sometimes when you're cutting something, you might have a real thin little piece that, you know, you don't want it to move. But if you can't really fit your fingers in there, this isn't a good example, but you know, imagine that this is about this big. When I go to cut it, it's going to slide. What this does is if you press that, see this doesn't come up, it holds this in place. So then I can cut and this is going to stay locked in place, and so this isn't going to move. That's the other awesome thing. So I'm flipping this over here, upside down. Now you'll notice there's a compartment under here, a little hidden compartment, and it's got places for you to store your extra cutters and square blades, extra tools that you might want to take if you're taking this with you somewhere. And also this long piece is to store extras of the track. You see this, this runner track in here? This comes out, so if it gets messed up or, you know, over time if it gets chipped or whatever, you can take this out, replace it, and so you can store your extra pieces underneath. And that's always a good thing to have, because you know, over time, the more you use these, especially the cutter, you'll notice that it gets dull and your paper starts to fray a little bit at the ends. And so this is a great, you know, compartment so that you can keep all of your stuff handy and extra. You don't have to keep it in another drawer. So Stampin' Up's trimmer is $30, and you can find it in the catalog toward the back in with the other cutting accessories. So I love my Stampin' trimmer. I hope you guys love it too, and you really, really need to have a trimmer in your house, because I guarantee, not just for your crafting, you're going to use this thing all the time. See you later.